Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is the 100% Humboldt podcast with me, your host, Scott Hammond, and my new best friend, Scott Bauer. Is that how you pronounce Bauer?
Yes.
Like Jack Bauer from 24.
Exactly.
Only different.
Or Eddie Bauer.
Eddie Bauer. Oh, that's good.
You relate to Eddie Bauer? I said, I wish.
Yeah.
No relation.
Scott Hammond, Hammond Lumber. No, I wish. Yeah, they were the they were the number one redwood producer in the world.
Huge.
And they had to come in and do what did they call it when they bust a monopoly?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were huge. It was GP and LP and all those guys. Anyway, Scott, tell us the Scott Bauer story. Who are you? What do you want?
Oh, well, yeah. It's a pleasure to be here, by the way.
Thank you.
Super excited. Yeah, I grew up in Huntington Beach, born and raised.
That's Orange County, right?
Orange County.
Yeah.
Moved to Humboldt in 1993.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
Yeah, 31 years. Most of my life,
Mm-hmm.
majority of my life, I've lived in Humboldt County.
Wow.
Came here to go to Humboldt State, Cal Poly, and did a AmeriCorps National Service Program. Took a year off to do that.
That's cool.
It was super fun. And
Where'd you go?
I actually worked on the Klamath River for the California Conservation Corps.
Wow.
I partnered with Department of Fish and Wildlife, where I work today. And finished school, and then I've been working for Department of Fish and Wildlife since, 2005. But I've been a civil servant since 1999.
Wow. So so your major was fisheries?
It was natural resources, but I've always loved fish.
So you're the guy that came up, stayed in your major, got the job in your major.
Yep. And there's a bunch of us too,
Yeah.
like AmeriCorps people that came to Humboldt to do AmeriCorps and stayed. Probably 40% of Fish and Wildlife is Humboldt grads, AmeriCorps grads. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's nice. I remember the day when we came up in 78 to study. I was an ocean major thinking, hey, we're going to get a job as, forest rangers. And it's like, no, you're going to be a rec major. Thank you. I could do that really well. That's cool. So we were able to stay in your field.
Yeah. And then I guess I should say, lived in Arcata for, a big part of my early career. And then my wife and I bought a house in Eureka 2002.
Wow.
So we lived here for going on 21 years.
City Councilman Scott Bauer. Can I reintroduce him? City Councilman, dad, husband,
Yep.
Bauer.
And I serve on the city council for the 4th Ward of Eureka.
The 4th Ward. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your job duties at Fish and Game?
Oh, I do cannabis enforcement.
Oh, go figure.
Yeah, I have.
Is there still cannabis around this county? People still do that?
Yeah, there's still.
I thought it was boom and bust. That's like a .com.
Yeah, it's at a ebb tide right now. Like it's still there. We still have people doing illegal cultivation, but it seems like it's shifted quite a bit down to like Mendocino, Lake County, the illegal stuff.
Interesting. So would you go and enforce and write tickets or?
Well, I actually have a team of scientists, and our focus is to document the environmental crimes. The streams getting dried up for diverting water, pushing dirt around and getting dirt into our streams. So we support law enforcement in that effort. Yeah,
I remember the eel, 3 years ago. It was so low. It was like it looked like the Eel River Creek, or it was a half a creek by Benbow. It was just awful. And I'm going, what? So tell us about that for a minute. Tell us maybe a small arc of the cannabis industry and what your enforcement experience is.
Oh, man. Well, I actually started working on cannabis about 2010. Got involved in a case that was like enormous amount of dirt moved, pushed into a creek. And I thought, wow, that's kind of a problem. And so some of us in the department, we started doing presentations about it. Like, this is an issue that we need to focus on. And I was telling our friend earlier about, and I started doing presentations, and then pretty soon the media picked up on it. And, I got to, Dan Rather at one point came up and interviewed me, and I got to go show him some stuff. And I think
I remember that.
Yeah.
You focused on that. Yeah.
It's like 2013 or something. And And so I got to do a lot of the outreach to kind of bring the issue to the forefront of, political people's minds,
right.
Regulators, and actually work with the industry on like Prop 64, trying to get, people were interested in legalization. So
sure.
Got to be from, the beginning of the industry and the regulation of it and the enforcement of it. So I've been involved in it for a long time.
Wow. So everybody wanted to have pot legal, and yet there were these illegal grows that were just literally probably doing more damage to the environment than maybe anything else, right? Arguably in Humboldt County, you wreck a fishery, you wreck plants and animals, and you have insecticides and pesticides. What are the insecticides that kill animals?
Rodenticides.
Rodenticides, yeah.
Yeah. And that's still out there. Humboldt County is in a much better space these days than, Mendo, Trinity, Shasta.
Is that because of enforcement?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been at it longer than anybody. So
sure.
other entities actually come here to learn how to do it.
I think Billy Hansel said part of what he does is he trains other law enforcement.
Yep.
As part of his experiences here.
He's an expert.
Yeah. Nice man. Hey, Billy, what's up?
So yeah, I've been involved in that and seen kind of the changes in our community, in our resources, and it's where are we today? It's like kind of ever evolving between legalization, maybe federal legalization someday, all those different kind of things. So it's been a really interesting ride. Like as a scientist, I never thought I would
do that.
End up doing this. It was like I want to do fisheries restoration, which I've done.
Right.
A decade of that before, and now here we are regulating a $1 billion industry.
So you're restoring a boom and bust economy, which was redwood or forestry, lumber, and now you're restoring the damage these yahoos have done.
Well, that's funny because in my early presentations, I would talk about the gold rush, and then the timber rush, and then the green rush.
Right.
And it's been our kind of Humboldt County's thing for century or more, these kind of boom and bust cycles for industries. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it'd be fair to say that 100% of these guys are not bad actors. There's
100 you mean
are not.
Yeah. I mean,
but there's people that are trying to comply and try to do things on the up and up and do it clean.
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
So what percent, just ballpark, would be bad actors that would just go, screw it, I'm going to kill the environment and I'm going to do it for money and do it without any conscience?
That's changed over time. One time it was pretty wild west, and it depends on the county, but Humboldt, it's vastly changed. I mean, I couldn't give you a percentage, but the majority are legitimate.
That's great.
And are trying to, be, good citizens and business people.
It's good. I love that. Yeah. That's kind of more who I choose to believe who we are.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Eureka, your role with Eureka. What do you do?
Oh boy. Well, city council, we're heavily involved in, I like to tell people, because step back. I mean, I feel like the community, people in the community are more idealistic focused on like what, here's what the city needs to do. It's a focus on what a particular ideology is. And I look at it as we're running a city. People need clean water. People need their sewer systems to work.
Roads.
People, need roads. They need trails. The things that make a city function. That to me is our job. Is like, how do we do that? How do we, manage a budget and do all that with I don't want to say a form of ideology, but we want it to be more bicycle friendly, more pedestrian friendly. Changing a city that I like to say, we're a very utilitarian city. Like it was a logging town, and therefore it's not necessarily, have the beauty of some seaside village somewhere, I mean, we were designed and built for timber and fishing, really, and gold mining way before that. But so that's where we're starting from. And now we're trying to change that to something that
tourism,
wind energy, fish farms, college based, focusing on education, and
arts,
all those things. Right. And so you have to kind of redesign and rethink.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Right.
It's structured different. The geography, the architecture,
the layout.
Yeah, the way it's all laid out. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, so you have to re-engineer a little bit.
Yeah, and so we're doing that, and I this is the part that I love is like that you see where people are. Like there's a camp that doesn't like change.
Sure.
And for the sake of change, like change is scary. Change is hard to deal with, and then there's a camp that's like, no, full steam ahead. We're moving on, changing, and those two camps have a hard time communicating. And we do too. So like,
sure.
I think of my role is to try and educate people that here's why we do it this way. A lot of people have questions like, why is this happening? I want to explain, well, here's the budget. Here's how that's supposed to work. They get it. And there's so much of our community, of all of us, that they just don't know, like how does a city work? Right. And it's complicated, and it, all requires money. And I just wish people would want to understand, because even sometimes when you tell people like, here's what's going on, here's why we're doing that, they've already developed their opinion.
Right.
They're thinking of a response instead of listening. Right. We all do that, right?
Of course.
It's like, I can't wait to get here's what, I want to say this.
Yeah. I'm thinking of mine right now.
Yeah. Just listen, like listening
Learn
to the community. Yeah. And what do people want? I'll say that I got into this, my kids one day are driving into town and they're like, this community, the street's so ugly. And I have to explain, well, it was built for logging trucks and, industry. It wasn't built for beauty.
Skinny little downtown streets.
Yeah. Right. And it got me thinking, like, well, maybe I should get involved. I'll say I've always been involved. My kids were a big catalyst, but I've always been involved in, I served on the Wetlands and Creeks Committee in Arcata when I was a young man. Served my country through AmeriCorps. So I've always been involved in community and volunteerism. And so it's just like a natural progression, to want to do more. Yeah. And it's super challenging, and I've learned so much in 4 years.
Next job, supervisor.
We have some great supervisors, We do.
Yeah, they're great.
And they have an even more difficult job. I think, city's in good shape financially. County is, struggling. So we're fortunate.
Yeah. So is Miles Slattery your boss?
No, he works for the city council.
He's city council.
He's city manager, so he works for all the council people.
Okay, so he was on Nick's show.
Right on.
Yeah, I guess he did a long interview.
Yeah.
So tell me more about the ward system and how long you've been at this. And we were talking before we went on about the ranked whatever.
Ranked choice voting.
Tell us about that. I want to know about that.
Well, like the wards at one time, the city has 5 wards, and it was everybody votes for everybody. So it was a wide open voting system. And then it was last election, we went to a true ward system. And that basically was you vote for the candidates in your ward.
That's going to be way harder to get a ballot going for that.
Well, it's easier for candidates because you focus, right? You can focus on one area.
Ward, yeah.
I mean, I knocked on practically every door in the ward, in Ward 4, and met thousands of people, a couple thousand probably. But so we would vote, you vote for your candidates in your ward. Well, and they're separated by population. So they try and make the wards all equal amounts of population. So the boundary of the 4th ward is essentially Harrison on the east, the west, it goes all the way up to Sequoia Park, takes in kind of the armory there,
Mm-hmm.
runs along, what is that, Henderson? And then past Henderson to Harris. And then it comes down kind of behind Eureka High.
Like right over here in Eureka oh, man, he moved my map. It used to be like right here. I could touch it. So over there in Eureka, California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it goes all the way down to the Bay on Bay Street.
So you could knock on all that. It's pretty flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not hard to do. But then now this year, because the voters, 61% chose for ranked choice voting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I ran, there was 5 candidates and it was winner take all, right? You voted for your top choice. Mm-hmm. Well, this coming election, it'll be, if there's 5 candidates, you rank them 1 through 5.
Huh.
Like, I think it's a great opportunity, because like in our national elections, right, it's one or the other. Mm-hmm. And people call the Green Party a spoiler, or mm-hmm. they call whatever, libertarians a spoiler.
Right.
But you could vote for them mm-hmm. as your first choice. Mm-hmm. And if everybody did that, it's possible it could totally change the election. So what happens is, if the first choice, the first round of votes are counted, doesn't get 50%, nobody does, mm-hmm. then you count the second choice. The person with the lowest amount of votes gets removed, mm-hmm. and those people's second choice, essentially, gets counted.
Okay.
And so you go through that until somebody has 50% plus 1.
Gotcha.
And so
I like that.
Yeah. So you could, like, I really like this person. I don't think they're going to win, but I'm going to vote for them first.
So mathematically, it's a genius way to actually create a pretty clear majority if you had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a very cool system.
As opposed to a 2-party system where it's got to be 50 plus 1.
Yeah. I mean, so other parties, other people, mm-hmm. Have an opportunity to maybe win even, like they get enough votes because people are voting what they think is right, mm-hmm. versus like holding their nose and voting,
right.
Like in national elections, like people say, oh, I plug my nose and vote for that guy. But if it was,
what are you saying? Who's doing that?
Yeah. I mean, that's what, and I admit it, like it's frustrating. And I think today I was listening to a podcast, ironically, about elections. And I was thinking, the world isn't black and white. And at the national level, it's been that way for 100 years, I think, since the Bull Moose Party, right? 1912, Bull Moose Party, Teddy Roosevelt, mm-hmm.
basically
stole votes from the Republican, and Woodrow Wilson won. I think that was 1912 or 1914. Mm-hmm. But that, that was when people started actually considering ranked choice voting. Okay. Was that election.
Interesting.
And it was actually a Republican Party idea back then. So it's a way more, I wish it was done federally.
That'd be great.
It would change everything.
It'd be a deal changer.
But
have 10 people on there.
Yeah. And that's the problem though. But you have this kind of duopoly, right? People call it, and it's like, you have 2 choices. The world doesn't, there's no 2 choices in the world. There's no yes and no's as far as I'm concerned. The world is gray.
Yeah, I don't think I resent the candidates as much as I do the 2 parties.
Yeah.
Because they're just putting up their horse that they think will win, and it may not be a good horse for I don't know.
No, and if why can't you should have multiple, it should be multiple choice.
Right, yeah. And one thing that's come through the podcast here is that we're pretty divided, and I, we can talk about that all day, Captain Obvious topic. That's so easy to pick on. It's what we're doing to link back together and create, I don't know, community kindness, whatever, unity, you can call a lot of things. How do you do that in your office? Do you, I imagine you're a good listener. You seem like a nice guy, and you're there talking to constituents and, going back to the obstructionist, jerks that come in and just want to no to everything. You and your bike lanes, forget it. Yeah. And the bike lanes are great. They seem like they're working out okay.
Yeah.
The trail coming in from Arcata this summer, that's going to be connecting us to the other part of the world. So love to talk about your work and what you do and how you do it and what's unique to Eureka as opposed to Humboldt as a county.
I love actually a subject because I think there's so much polarization in our politics, in our community, and
in our own heads.
And it's so frustrating to me because like people are blown away. Like I'm friends with a wide spectrum of people.
Right on.
I know big ranchers that are friends of mine, and from the left and the right, I'm friends with tons of people that.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Because we're all human beings. Politics shouldn't be the ultimate factor on why you're friends with someone. There's great human beings across the spectrum. And so I'm happy to say, yeah, I'm friends with that guy, and we disagree on a lot of things, but we also have a great time going fishing, like we don't discuss politics or whatever. And I think that is something that...
Or you do, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's a good exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge for people in government is to try and, I don't think my role is even to like convince people that my way is the right way, is to explain, why this is a good idea. Like H&I Street, right? Going to 2 lanes in a bike lane has been so... The emails you get,
divisive and crazy.
And it's like, traffic hasn't really changed.
Really?
It's actually slowed a little bit because people go slower. And yes, there's not 1,000 bikes going down it right now because so much of city planning is building it for the future, right? The hope that people have people don't feel safe riding their bike. Well, now they'll feel safer. So now maybe they will.
You got trails coming in, the Great Redwood Trail, and you got Arcata.
Yeah. And those are things that make you healthy. It's a healthy lifestyle. So,
and Eureka is a bikeable town.
Totally.
It's nice and flat.
It's faster for me to ride my bike to work than it is to drive.
Really?
Literally. Okay. It's like a minute faster. So,
was that terrible wreck on I Street 2 weeks ago? Was there any extrapolation that's having anything to do with the new lanes?
Has zero.
That person just went buck crazy and started hitting people.
Yeah. And there's an interesting story there that I can't talk about, but I
was asking my wife, she follows all this. She goes, they're not saying much.
Yeah.
I'm going, that's going to be a crazy story.
Yeah.
Because he took a life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then tried to drive away, I think.
Yep. Nothing to do with bike lanes. 2 lanes.
It was over on 7th anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like I like talking to people. I don't care your beliefs, like I enjoy it. It's fun. It's like fun to learn about people and even to find common ground. Like that is so, that's the best part of life.
So you're a dad like me. Hey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You like to ride a bike. I do too.
Yeah. Just those things that bring us together. And if we don't do that, then we end up in these miserable situations where people are unhappy and,
I see it every day. It's crazy.
You're missing out on life.
It's like, you're forfeit. You are. And it's like, oh. So in your journey, then you're kind of a bridge maker. Virginia Bass came on. She said she was good at that.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I certainly try. Like, in working with people, people will call and say, I have this issue, go to their house and be like, well, here's why that's an issue. Here's why the city, sent you a nasty letter. Like,
oh, wow.
And they may disagree, but just explaining it, because, city officials, city staff, they're busy. And you got that because there's 400 other people that got that violation letter.
Gotcha.
And so they can't explain to, it's like, trying to get people understand why we have rules and regulations too. That's like the basics of a city. Why do we do that? Well, let me explain what happened. It got us to like sewer laterals, right? That's a fascinating story. It's not our fault, but it's an expensive issue and it's a water quality issue. And so here's why we have to do that.
There's reason behind it.
There's reason behind everything.
So traffic slowing and then is it called traffic?
Calming.
So all the measures, all the curbs that went out in the crosswalks.
Yeah.
Talk to that. I mean, that's a progressive, expensive, controversial, and I actually kind of like them. It slows everybody down.
Yeah.
Because where I'm downtown Eureka, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
people go nuts.
The bulb outs are another divisive thing, which they really shouldn't be. It protects pedestrians. They can stand there and not feel like they're going to get hit. slows you down when you make a turn.
People can see them standing there. So if I choose to obey the law and stop and let a pedestrian go by.
Yeah, well, and that was all grant funded. Mm-hmm. It wasn't through the city budget.
That's real money, right?
It was several $1 million, for all of that work. And
is it all finished already?
Oh,
it must be pretty close.
H&I think is pretty much done, and now we're doing 6 and 7 done. Mm-hmm. It's getting there, right? Yeah. And then Myrtle Town or Myrtle Avenue is going to get worked on, but that's going to be focused just like on paving, sewer line.
Got it.
Like I should talk to that real quick too about infrastructure, because people need to understand that, our city's very old, and sewer systems are, old, and really? Water lines are old. And so anytime we have to pave a road or something, when you want to dig up the street one time,
right?
And like with I Street, we did our work, but what happened is the systems are so old that when they're driving heavy equipment across them, some of those just popped.
Whoa.
Water lines broke. Huh. You had to dig it up again. But so much of that kind of work now, like you can't just pave a street. You got to go in there and like the lines are all old. Huh. Let's just do it all. And so it adds to the expense.
How old is Eureka? 1850 something?
God, it's it's over 100 years old by far.
How old are those sewage and water lines?
100 plus years, some of them.
Early 1900s,
yeah. We used to have a trolley car that went down Myrtle Avenue, and
not so that long ago.
It's old stuff, and so stuff costs money. Yeah. And people are always like, why isn't my street getting paid? Well, there's a lot of bad streets. And I like to say, hey, we're the first city council, and the population has finally made a decision to tax itself, right? To do that. And we're talking like a backlog of decades, because never had money to do it.
Right.
City council, previous ones, old, years ago, never decided to like take that mature step and say, we need more revenue, like just let it kind of go. And so now we have to we're doing catch up, and you focus on the streets with the most activity, and then the other streets will follow, but it's going to take 10, 20 years before we pave all of our streets and
get it right.
And people have a hard time with that. My street's the worst. It's like, no, it's not.
So at First Street, down where we work out at HealthSport, that was when I was in college in '78. There's still a rail line there.
Yep.
The rail's still kind of in the bed of the street, but there were still trains moving around.
Yeah, up until '98 when it officially closed, I think, with the big storms in '97, '95.
Okay.
And the Eel River Canyon, that was one of those things that people always like, why don't we reopen the railroad? The estimates of building the rail line back were like, I want to say $1 billion.
It's crazy money. And then it would slide again.
And and then what? What are we going to haul people on it for $1 billion? It's like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a trail, which is
going to be a cool trail.
Yeah.
Maybe part of it in our lifetime.
Segments
will be, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that was a big deal, man. My wife's really excited about that. We're excited about the arcade connecting to Eureka. That'll be fun.
Totally.
That way you can go all the way from Trinidad to the power plant.
Yeah.
That'd be a long bike ride.
I know. And safe.
And very safe. Yeah. Good point.
Well, and that's the other thing. I think there's just folks that think, grew up in a car culture, and changing that, it's hard. People think, it's always been this way and cars always should dominate. It's like, well, the world changes.
Well, when gas goes to $10 a gallon or north, which it is in Europe, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You may just have to have a bike or an e-bike or something. Yeah. We were in Amsterdam and everything's bikes.
Yeah.
Bikes trump people, cars. The only thing that trumps a bike is like a big rig, like a bus.
Yeah.
They won't stop for bicyclists.
Really?
They just they come right through. But yeah, very prohibitive to own a car.
Yeah.
Just like everything, the tax, the insurance, the gas, the car, the repair, and everything's really slow in a car, but you're right. We're really car oriented. Question for you. So the one of your other battle fronts, if you will, or your challenge opportunities was the that parking area that you want to put apartments in. and it has a name. So you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and where that has wound up in terms of more housing for Eureka and how we're getting there.
Well, we have a number of projects that are basically, converting lots to housing. Earth Center, we just discussed. What day is this? So this Tuesday. And we talked about it, and we have a new contractor that's taking it on. And
what'd you call it?
The Earth Center.
Where's that at?
That's right behind Lost Coast Brewery.
Oh, right. The big parking lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one, we have millions of dollars from Humboldt Transit Authority to build essentially a transit hub. So anybody that could hop on a bus from there and go to Ukiah, hop on a bus and eventually get to Redding,
Brilliant.
And then connect up to all the towns. So bottom floor is a few shops, the transit authority running this hub, and then a couple of floors of apartments above that, and
nice.
On the lot right next to it. And
so the Greyhound could go there.
Yep.
Bikes could be locked there.
Yep.
The bus up to Hoopa, the whatever to Crescent City.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great idea because we don't have that.
A cool idea.
Where do we have? I mean, Arcata has their, their
very small though.
Super small, and this would be serve all of Humboldt essentially. I'm going to Ukiah, drive to town, or if somebody gives me a ride, whatever. Sure. Take the bus to town, hop on the big bus, and go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's been a huge. I mean, obviously, right? We have a group of folks that are trying to get everything put on the Jacobs campus, right? And housing for all thing. But we could, that's a whole story.
Let's talk about that next. We'll talk about that.
So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that we've been talking about change and transportation and all, general change going on in our society, and taking parking lots and people have to fight whether they're full all the time, or we are been a fortunate population to be able to walk a block to a store, go to Monterey, go to Santa Barbara, right? You're going to possibly walk blocks to a store, and everybody just accepts it.
Or miles. Yeah.
Or miles. And for some reason, there's people in our community that should never happen. It's well, we need housing more than anything. Number one thing that you poll, I just heard a poll today. It was 18 to 24-year-olds or 18 to 39. Number one issue is housing for them.
Oh, yeah.
What are we going to do?
Ask my kids, adult kids at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
where are we going to build, right?
So weird.
So we have parking lots, vast space that we can build up and build affordable housing. We talked about affordable housing. It's there's also the misconception that low income is something to be afraid of. And in fact, low income folks are Target employees, bartenders, it's not a tiny amount of money to be low income. It's a decent salary.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they're criminals.
Yeah.
There's low income.
Yeah. It's well, how did that even become a thing? And I had someone, what are they saying? It's all kind of well, I forget how they said it, but so it's having people living in your downtown, it revitalizes downtown. They're out spending money,
right?
Going to have a drink, have dinner.
There's kids that go to schools and
all those things. So it's I find it, to me, it's an easy decision. We need housing. We're going to have to lose some parking. I'm willing to not drive down there when I go down there. I
don't think I've had a parking issue at all in my business downtown since well pre-COVID.
Yeah.
It's I'm a little on the edge downtown, but I don't know where there's any hard place to find parking unless it's an event or Friday night market or
4th of July.
4th of July, you might have to walk 2 blocks. Oh my gosh, I have to walk. It's terrible. It's going to hurt.
Well, it's a healthy thing too.
It's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife says, let's park way out outside of Costco. Oh no, that's a hardship. I can't do that. Love you, Joni. So yeah, let's go. Let's walk a little bit. It won't hurt you. It won't kill you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get moving. Move that thing there. Partner.
So I think we've been the city has been, trying its damnedest to build housing. And
is there grant money to do so?
Yeah. I think the most recent state budget though kind of does some cutting to those programs. but there are tax credits and there's things that make it more, cost, not cost prohibitive, the problem too, though, is between interest rates and price of materials. It's like, I feel like there's always a roadblock for us. Like, why can't we do this? And it's just like challenge upon challenge, but we're trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like it. So there's the balloon track we need to talk about, which could have been something, and that trade is obviously sailed. Yeah. The other is let's talk about Jacob's School. That'd be a fun one. So that was like top secret. Who had a bid in, or who was buying it, and maybe I should know this, and I don't. But
yeah.
I mean, it was up for sale.
There's still speculation as to who is behind all that.
Is it an escrow of some sort?
Yeah, the longest escrow in history of the United States. Really? So it's a fascinating. It's kind of a.
It's a lot of space, right? That whole thing's a lot of acres. How many acres is Jacob's?
Oh boy, I think the buildable part is 5 or something. CHP was going to build a facility there, so it's been really interesting the kind of campaign that's gone around it. But we don't own it, and so there's this kind of assumption that the city could just build housing there. It's like, we don't own it. Somebody has to do it. It's not zoned for housing, so how is this even an opportunity?
Right.
The owner, the people buying it haven't closed escrow. They don't own it.
Right.
It's going to be an escrow until
it's not zoned.
It's not zoned. And my guess it'll be an escrow until the election, like it's kind of a red herring, but I don't know how much to get into the intricacies of it that I know, but all I know is that we have all these opportunities that we're working on in town, like changing lots to housing, and we're trying, and this other thing is not real, it's not tangible. Right. So it's like, what are we supposed to do?
It's like putting a railroad in Eel River Valley. Yeah.
Putting in a monorail, to Reading or something. It's like,
what?
It's not possible.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those things that is a divisive issue. Again, to me, like we're already working on this other stuff. Now you want us to like drop all that and go over here that on a property we don't own.
Right. It's a wild goose chase.
Yeah. Huh. It's interesting, but you see that kind of thing happen, like
people get really hardcore on something.
Yeah. And they create, these kind of issues that shouldn't really exist, frankly.
Well, it's time. And then maybe there's decisions then, but I'd love to speculate with you as to who the owners and buyers are and what it's going to do. And it's like,
I don't know.
Maybe that's the wild goose chase. It wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah. No, it's, to me, it's just like, what are you guys doing?
I thought the Journal wrote something and they were speculating as to, was there anything true in that article?
There's so much that you can, I always said, and I've talked to representatives at the state level, like we need to fix LLCs, limited liability corporations, because it enables people to hide. I've seen through work, I've seen LLCs owning LLCs.
Right.
And there's a registered agent, right?
They're offshore somewhere.
And there's a registered agent, and you call a registered agent and they don't have to tell you who it is. And so it's like, well, how do you know who owns that property that just dumped 1,000 gallons of oil on it? Well,
they can hide.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And so that is a poor law that is not good for democracy, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
LLCs.
People can hide.
Yeah. And it's like, well, who is it? If you got a great idea, what are you afraid of? Let's see who you are.
Right. You committed a crime?
Yeah.
Let's find out who you are.
Yeah. Just like baffling.
So what do you see for the future of Eureka, Scott, in terms of opportunities that we haven't talked about? So we need some housing, and we need some homeless. Housing fixes some of homelessness, I would guess. There's an association.
Well, Tuesday night we had a great presentation by Commander LaFrance, who's in charge of our...
Good guy.
Yeah, community safety.
Lenny's been on the podcast. Hey, Lenny.
Yeah, he's great, and
nice man.
I learned a ton, and I hope people watched because, talking about our population of homeless and where they're from and all those factors that you scratch your head. You're like, okay, now I understand, now I understand more about the situation. And, it's one of those issues that I think some people believe, or, that all homeless are, and I think it was pretty clear in the study. It's like, well, there's a certain segment that just don't want help.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, but you can't live in the weeds and dump your trash on public property or private property. It's
pee on a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
No, and I think it's like, we teach our kids, to be responsible, to take care of themselves and to not affect other people's lives. At least that's what I try and do. Right.
Sure.
And some people think it's okay, and I'm like, just not sure, like if we're all entitled to public places, clean public places. And I have people all the time tell me I don't feel safe running on the trail. And I'm like, and I can't say you should because I'm I'm a big guy and, I can handle it. But it's like, I understand, that, and whether it's right or wrong, but I understand.
My wife, Joni, says the biggest danger is unleashed dogs.
Oh,
you unleash dog people. You don't have a special allowance or a special permit. And when that dog comes up and bumps Joni in the chest, it's not good. So our friend, she carries a rock when she runs.
Really?
Oh, and if a dog's loose, she'll just let loose. Yeah. It's like if the dog comes at her, it's going to get a rock in the head. And I'm going, good for you. I've got to name a name, but I won't. And I don't think it's dog hating. It's just like, come on, man, leash that. Yeah. Like, oh, he's great. Oh, he doesn't bite anybody. Yeah. He's fine till my arm's gone. And then anyway.
No, I had a incident running down the trail. I was actually on the boardwalk and this dog attacked me.
Loose dog?
Yeah, loose dog.
I'm sorry.
And I kicked it. I had no choice.
You have no choice. You got to get bit.
And I was just like, I was so furious. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the kind of stuff, like, we're all entitled.
What if you were a little kid?
I know.
And he bit your head. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so unacceptable. And it's like, and now you're branded a dog hater. No, I'm sorry. There's laws for you. And the other thing is, I guess I'm getting old. The guy that pees in the alley that I'm yelling at going, dude, find a piece of grass. And I'm just like, read this guy the very respectful riot act. You're better than this, man. Stop peeing on the building. It stinks. There's grass. There's other. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
My soapbox. And those growers. Y'all, you kids get off my lawn. So Jacobs, let's talk about Balloon Track real quick.
Yeah.
So big chunk of Eureka behind wherever on the bay that Arkley owned, wanted to develop historically with a Home Depot and low cost, maybe high cost housing and shopping and whatever. What happens to the Balloon Track? And it's big acres, right?
Well, that's a great question. I mean,
does he still own it?
That's my understanding. And seems like a good place for housing.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
Right. Or parking. No, just kidding.
Right? I mean,
bad joke.
Here's this huge piece of property that could be turned into something wonderful. And yet, we're focused like, look over here instead. And that was just brought up the other day with me. Like, what about that?
Such a central piece.
We don't
of
own it. Oh my God. It could be an amazing spot. I think there are some, brownfield issues possibly because there was a railroad hub. So is there toxics there? We have technology
for that now. It's not that impossible that it used to be to test and mitigate, right?
Totally. So it's a great opportunity.
And there's money for that. There's state and federal money probably.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity there that I think people would be curious, like, why not there then? Why not, if we're so concerned about parking, propose a big subdivision of 3-story buildings,
hey, Rob, you got this. You could do this. This could happen.
Well, there's those, and I also say this about Eureka, we're pretty built out. And so, the state mandates a certain amount of houses, low income, very low income, which infuriates a lot of communities, and in some cases like Eureka, we don't we don't have land to, like expand horizontally, right? We have to go up.
We're not going to go in the forest.
We just don't have it.
Yeah.
Look at the city limits. We just don't have a lot of space. So what other choices do we have? And people get angry at state mandates, and I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, we do need to, this is the right thing to do for people, for our community, is to build housing. And so what's the choice? Parking lot up, you know?
Humboldt's doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's
not a parking lot, but it's
it's
going to be like 10 or 12 stories, right?
It's going to be, that's all.
Every day I drive by it gets bigger. It's like 6 stories now. I'm going, Nick, what's going on here, man? This is like hardcore, but it'll look beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it'll be okay.
Totally.
Scott, that's what we have to do. So Scott, what blocks your team at the city council from getting their job done? Is it the detractors, the obstructionist jerks that come in and go, hey, and get you guys off in rabbit trails, or what? I'm going to guess there's some of that, but what hurts the team from getting progress done?
Yeah, I don't feel like there hasn't been progress, I feel like Eureka's moving forward, like we're fixing our roads, we're fixing our sewers, we're fixing our water lines, all those things.
Law enforcement, they're in good shape, I think. They seem like they're doing a great job to me.
Doing a great job. So staffing's an issue with like all industries, right? It seems
correct.
Like it's a perpetual issue.
What happened to people after COVID, man? Did
a
generation vanished? There's everybody retired?
No, and that's fascinating, right? I mean,
it's so weird. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and so we've tried to make our wages competitive and as best we can with the budget we have, right? So I think we're accomplishing a lot. I think the one thing that we all wish we could, like snap our fingers is, housing.
Yeah.
Like we just build this stuff, and people really want that, and some people don't. And yet, there's not the holdup, is money.
Yeah.
Right. And after COVID, it seems like between interest rates, materials, and maybe it's a lack of contractors. I hear that. Like, can't find a contractor.
True.
Can't find an electrician, man.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of limiting factors that are more societal than like our team's issues.
Yeah. So Betty builds, she says she's got a little village thing that with modular, some sort of stuff. Would we ever go there?
No, we're doing that.
Is that with her?
Yeah. So it'll be, it's called Betty's Village, down there off of Hillficker.
Betty Chin, shout out.
Hey, Betty. So there will be a bunch of modulars. They're like prefabricated little homes. I think, is it 30 or 40?
Nice.
It's quite a few, right?
With showers and the whole nine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's happening. The Mother Bernard house, just got built there on, what is that, L and 4th. So we're doing all these projects for homeless, and eventually we're going to have enough that we should be able to take care of everybody that wants a facility.
I'm thinking through L and 4th. Is that over where?
Right across from the Chevron.
Where Hunter and Hunt is?
No, it's this way. Wait, is that L or is that? Yeah, that's L Street, right?
Must be. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Or M.
Yeah.
M.
Okay.
But anyways, we're like moving. That stuff's happening. That stuff's going to get done this year. And then, things would be like pretty solid as far as like, if you need a place, we got a place for you.
That's huge.
But it's that other component, the very low income, the working folks, working 2 jobs and all that we just can't get enough housing for, and like ADUs, right? I mean, it's very easy to get an ADU permitted now. It's
my gosh, we have one. Early COVID.
Yeah.
It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath at McKinleyville.
And they're awesome.
I go, wait, what about my CC&R? He goes, state law trumps all CC&R. You could do this. I go, wait, is this legal? Oh, yeah. Just go get the permits.
Yeah.
Pull the permits. You got it. You'll build one. And it happened. And it happened quickly.
But for a lot of folks, right, it's the money to build it.
Getting a builder.
Getting an electrician, a plumber.
True. All of those guys. Yeah.
I'm trying to do that. And it's like trying to figure out, well, when is the financing going to be, reasonable to do it. Like that's the part, like, not having the time really to.
And 7% used to sound good 15, 20 years ago. Like, that's amazing. Now it's 2.
Yeah.
So what helps the team? What can we do to help?
Oh, man. Well,
your average citizen, what can they do to support you guys?
Well, I don't know if people that watch and see some of the folks that show up and curse us and cuss at us and, say really horrible things that aren't warranted and aren't part of at least the civil discourse that I remember as a young person watching.
Are these people that can be escorted out or
you have a First Amendment right? Freedom of speech and
cuss at you and accuse you.
I know.
Falsely?
Well, and some of it's a little borderline, violent, but whatever, we have thick skin. But, for those that think we're doing all right, call in, say, yeah, think things are going great.
That's cool.
I think that's the hardest part of the job is to get beat up and treated really it's not even reasonable. It's like, this doesn't even make sense what you're saying. Right. It's just like, you hate us for whatever reason, and you choose to be uncivil.
Yeah.
And just a downright nasty person, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice when a few people have been showing up and it's kind of been evolving where they're like, hey, thank you. And it's like,
I love it.
That makes it better.
My show, my house. Can I tell those guys hey, quit being a jerk. What's wrong with you, man? You're better than that. Just knock that crap off and get out of here and start helping. There.
Yeah.
I did.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel better now. So, hey, that part of the show. Guess what? Are you ready?
Sure.
This is Scott Bauer's favorite stuff in Humboldt. Are you ready? Or Eureka?
My favorite stuff?
So you're not. So I'm going to just call out some categories. Ready?
Yeah.
Favorite bakery?
Favorite bakery? Ramones.
Favorite coffee joint?
Oh, God. I usually bring my own, but if I walk out of my office, I either go to Ramones or Los Bagels or Old Town Coffee. I try and spread the wealth.
It's right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, favorite trail if you have 2 hours to go hike?
Oh, man. I'm more of a wilderness hiker. Like, I like to go out in the Trinity Alps, that kind of thing. Locally.
Can't say Canyon Creeks.
I love
although it's a great trail.
We did that the other was it last year? My son and I did it in one day.
Oh, wow.
In and out, spent the night, fished, came out to see if we can, it was like 24 miles.
Is it 8 miles? Oh, 20. Oh, you went the longer.
We went all the way up to above the lakes.
Oh, that's cool.
So it ended up being like 24.
You guys are
But local trails, probably like Headwaters,
Headwaters is fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's one. How about favorite lunch?
Come
out of the office, you got to go eat lunch. You got to spend money. Where do you go?
Oh, geez. You're asking some tough questions.
You're not a business person. You're not beholden.
No. I mean, I just don't do it that often,
So here's $20. Go have lunch. Where do you go?
I'm a huge sushi fan.
Oh, there you go.
I'd go to a sushi spot or something local.
Have you ate on the rooftop sushi yet?
I have.
Is it good?
It's cool.
I heard it's good.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
The view is cool.
Yeah, but I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Tomo. Been going there for
Tomo's good.
30 years.
She's the lady that started Fakiko started Tomo up in Arcata. What a sweetheart! She's super gracious and wonderful. So I got into the sushi place on the roof. Joni and I walked up. I said, "What's going on? Can we?" I just called in, and she goes, "Oh, it's a private party." I go, "Well, can you see if I'm on the list?" And he looks. He goes, "There's no Scott Hammond here." I go, "Well, I don't know what's up with that." He goes, "Just go." And so it was the night the builder, Adams Construction, all those guys. It was just fun. Just go up, say hi. Cool. And all the people that made it. Like
That's been an amazing building.
Like Greg at Redec and all those guys. Yeah. Greg Foster. Shout out to Greg.
What's up, Greg?
Lastly, favorite dinner house. Where would you go for dinner?
Tomo.
So sushi, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, I mean,
why not?
I'm a sushi freak. But we do go to 511 quite a bit.
511's tasty.
Yeah.
Everybody comes out with Larapin. I mean, it's of course it's a go-to.
I haven't been to Larapin in a long time.
It's good. Yeah,
that's great.
I go to dinner at Dick Taylor Chocolates. Actually, they do have a bit of food. I mean, it's not dinner food, but
Adam Dick's a good friend of mine.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're a great business.
Oh, he's they're sweet. Their whole family's great.
Yeah.
So party shots, anything you'd like to add to your story? And
oh man,
where you going, where you want to be?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How many years have you been in office, by the way?
Just 4.
4. Are you going to run again?
First term. I knew you were going to ask that. It's been a constant, debate in my house. Like,
is it November?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you on the ballot?
It doesn't open until July. The official register to do it, and we'll see.
Okay.
I enjoy 100%. I enjoy who I work with on the city council. They're all great human beings. And
who are they by name again?
They all really care.
Sure.
Kim Burgell, Leslie Castellano, Katie Moulton, Mario, and Renee. Yeah. And they're all doing it because they care. That's all I can say.
It isn't for the money.
It's not for the money.
It's not for the money, man.
Because they care. But, the one thing that always weighs on my mind, and one of the reasons I got into this, is knowing that the planet is in serious trouble. Climate change is something that our kids are really going to be affected by. We're being affected by it. I mean, look at, there's so much going on, and I'm just I serve on the Redwood Coast Energy Authority board, and one of the things I'm just how fast can we get renewable energy deployed? It's got to happen. That we need to treat the work towards a sustainable future like a war effort. I always said that. I'm we were able to build, I think, a battleship a month or something during World War II.
Yeah.
It's insane. And B-17s, one a day coming off the.
It was wild stuff.
Yeah, and we need to take what's happening now and do the same thing, deploying windmills, solar panels, whatever it takes, because we are in
e-cars.
It's going to take 9,000 charging stations in Humboldt County to get us to.
Wow.
That's what it's going to take.
What do we have now? Under 1,000?
Yeah, way under.
Yeah.
So that's what we should focus all of our energy on. Create a ton of jobs, because nothing else matters. People will say, I have this argument all the time. Well, why don't, it'll affect my retirement, or it's do you understand? None of that matters if the planet's not habitable.
Right. And your kids and grandkids are just, Yeah.
And so to me, it's we all need to be trying, doing something, whether it's being a part of an organization that's doing something, or riding your bike once a week, or whatever. Right. You got to try. And the naysayers that say they don't believe it, well, they're wrong. I'm a scientist studying it for decades, and
it's science, man.
It's just science. Too much carbon dioxide makes the earth warmer.
There's a big hole in the ozone down in New Zealand, is there not, or Australia?
It's gotten better. That's one of the issues we got rid of chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, and voila.
Hey, it heals.
It heals up.
Wow.
And if we stop burning fossil fuel, the earth would heal.
So you got 1 minute to talk about your legacy. What do you want to have on your tombstone? Scott Bauer lies here, and his tombstone has an inscription on it, and it says something.
That kind of almost chokes me up thinking about it. No, just that I enjoyed life, and that I did what I could for my community, whatever as best as I thought I could do,
I love it.
I'd be satisfied with that.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Scott Bauer, thanks for coming.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you sharing your heart, and I feel really good. I'm in McKellyville, and I feel really positive about the Eureka. I really do.
I'm honored to be here. I appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.